All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are mapping out what happens when a public institution, one funded with your tax dollars, gets accused of some serious stuff, like corruption, right from the inside. This kind of crisis sets off a huge system-wide response, and we're going to break down exactly how that's supposed to work. So just imagine this for a second. An employee blows the whistle on some major misconduct happening inside their own organization. What's supposed to happen next? I mean, what system kicks in to actually investigate the problem, fix the damage, and, this is the big one, protect the person who had the guts to speak out in the first place? It's a question that gets right to the very heart of public trust. You see, the response isn't just one thing. It's more like a coordinated dance between a whole bunch of powerful organizations. So to make sense of it, we're going to think of it like a solar system. It's this web of institutions, each with its own job, its own orbit, all working together to pull a crisis back into alignment. Okay, so who are the actual players in this system of accountability? Let's meet the celestial bodies that are responsible for holding all this power to account. Right at the very center of our system, you've got the sun. This is the institution itself. For our story, we'll call it CIIB. This is ground zero, where the crisis started. We're talking allegations of a pacto de silencio, a pact of silence, designed to hide all sorts of misconduct. Now, the goal of the system isn't to, destroy the sun, but to guide it, to accompany it back to where it's supposed to be. Orbiting that sun is our Earth, the State Ministry, or MFP. Think of it as the main coordinator. It gets a quiet, confidential heads-up. And its first move is to issue a formal safeguarding order. It's basically a command that says, freeze, preserve all the evidence, and you will not retaliate against the person who spoke. And then, orbiting our Earth, we have the Moon. This is the National Anti-Fraud Agency, the SNCAIJ. These are the technical and legal boots on the ground. They're the ones who show up and say, give us the documents. They put legal holds on evidence so nothing disappears, and they start tracing the money, working hand in glove with the European authorities. And then you've got the planets, this whole ecosystem of specialized watchdogs. You can see just a few of them here. You've got Olaf protecting EU money, EPPO prosecuting crimes, and then national authorities that do everything from protecting whistleblowers to investigating data breaches. The point is, each one has a very specific job, and it's their combined gravitational pull that keeps the whole system in check. So, you have all these players, all these planets and moons orbiting this crisis. But how do they actually line up and get anything done? Well, the system is built for speed and coordination. It's designed to go from that first alert to real action on a very tight 90-day timeline. It all kicks off with what's called a silent awakening, where that confidential note gets the ball rolling. Within 30 days, a secure data room has to be opened up, which gives investigators total access. And notice this, it's a parallel process. The EU's anti-fraud office and the national agency start digging at the exact same time. From there, the timeline moves fast, pushing toward protecting the whistleblower and getting real remedies in place, all aiming for a mandatory integrity plan within 90 days. So when investigators get into that data room, what are they actually looking for? They're digging way past the official story. They're trying to find what the source material calls the procedural fiber, the hidden DNA of how decisions were really being made. And that brings us to this really important idea, simulacro institucional, or institutional simulation. This is what happens when an organization just gets really good at creating the perfect paper trail. The reports are filed, the boxes are ticked, but it's all just a performance. It's a facade built to hide a totally different, much uglier reality. To break through that facade, investigators start analyzing that procedural fiber. They want to know who decided what, when, and why. They run comparisons. Hey, did these two similar projects get treated completely differently? They bring in digital forensics because, let's be honest, email metadata and document version histories, they don't lie. And maybe most importantly, they check if whistleblower protection was a real thing or just words on a page. And this is where you see the huge clash. The system expects full cooperation and transparency. But what investigators were allegedly up against was the total opposite. That pact of silence, hidden files on employees,
and even official meeting minutes being changed to erase any disagreement.
And this brings up a really crucial point. These kinds of violations are almost never a one-off thing. Investigators usually find this whole interconnected pattern. Falsifying a document lets you misuse some funds, and then you have to cover that up by retaliating against a whistleblower, which might mean illegally using their personal data. It's all one big, tangled mess.
Okay, so we've seen the players, we've seen the process. But why does this whole complicated celestial dance even matter? What is actually at stake when a system like this gets put to the test?
Well, this whole framework is really designed to protect three massive things. First, the integrity of our money, taxpayer funds that are supposed to be for public good. Second, the rule of law itself, the idea that our public institutions have to play by the same rules as everyone else. And third, and you could argue this is the most important, protecting the actual people who have the courage to stand up and expose wrongdoing.
When you boil it all down, this whole accountability system is basically a firewall. It is the essential barrier that stands between the incredible power that public institutions hold and the danger of them having absolute impunity. It's there to make sure that when power is abused, there is a path back to justice.
So in theory, the system is this well-oiled machine, but it's still run by humans. The sources for this explainer make it clear that critical delays can and do happen. And that leaves us with one last really vital question. What happens when a key gear in this machine, say the very authority that's supposed to be protecting whistleblowers, is just too slow to turn, leaving the one person who triggered this whole process completely exposed? That is a vulnerability the system has not quite figured out how to solve.